Nigerians heave a sigh of relief with emergence of the Service Compact with all Nigerians, popularly known as SERVICOM, which was established to promote effective and quality service to the people of Nigeria, as well as empower public officers to be at alert to their responsibilities in providing improved, efficient, timely, and transparent service across governmental ministries, departments, agencies, and parastatals. The body was supposed to be a mechanism through which the Nigerians can lodge complaints against tyrannical and errant public officers whose conduct falls below the standard required of public and civil servants. SERVICOM customarily have offices in all federal government agencies, take complaints, and ensure that justice and fairness is done. Unfortunately, this body has now failed to uphold the purpose of its establishment. The agency no longer addresses complaints and has now become very ineffective. The organization leadership and modus operandi has accordingly encouraged abuse of official duties on one hand, as well as precluding victims of these errant officers from assessing appropriate remedy within the administrative system. We are calling on the federal government of Nigeria to understand that there's a need for Nigerians to be able to access quality service. There's a need for Nigerians to have a platform where at any point in time service is not duly given to them. They can hear their complaint. Sadly today, we have a crisis in country. You have a government agencies across the country. You go to Ministry of Justice, you go to our high courts, you have issues with officers of courts, you have issues with people, and you cannot complain to SERVICOM, because what SERVICOM is doing right now is that SERVICOM is using taxpayers' money to pay their staffs, and they are doing nothing to the Nigerian government, and they are doing nothing to the Nigerian people. So our concern is that there's a need for SERVICOM to be revitalized. EFCC and Nigerian police are established for the purpose of fighting corruption and addressing criminality in the country. But the most painful experience today, particularly EFCC, the painful experience today, that EFCC is gradually snowballing into an organization to be recovering debt on behalf of Nigerians. And this is a very sad narrative that must be addressed. EFCC's business is to ensure, yes, we agree that there's a thin line between criminality and civil dispute. But the truth is, as an organization that is being funded by taxpayers' money, such an organization should not meddle into civil issues, should not meddle into civil transactions. We are calling on the leadership of EFCC to understand that the sole purpose and the objective of setting up the organization must be protected at all times.
We call on the federal government to check on all the tax laws, review them, synchronize all of them, value-added tax, company income tax, personal income tax, taxes chargeable on companies and businesses should be clearly separated, and the CAC needs to be called upon, Federal Inland Revenue Service needs to be called upon to check the viability of taxing business names. I understand that there are limited liability partnerships under the Companies and Income Tax, under the Companies and Other Matters Act now, which allows some partnerships that are originally set up as business name to be registered as limited liability partnerships, which means you have certain liabilities of those persons who are registered as proprietors limited. Nonetheless, if you make those ones chargeable to tax, it is understandable. But still, you should understand that limited liability partnerships still come within the realm of small and medium-scale businesses. And we commend the fact that the federal government has decided to suspend some tax until September. I don't dispute the fact that taxation is one of the core means by which governments will generate revenues, but it must not be at the point of choking the citizens. It's the new term that you should let the poor breathe. We cannot shy away from the fact that government needs to take its time to deliberate on issues of taxation, because it affects the economical strength of the nation and the viability of small and medium-scale businesses. And in that regard, now, if you have proof of ownership tax levy, when you buy an item in 1 year and you have to prove that you own it the next year and the following year and every other year, it's as good as saying if I buy my phone and I've paid value-added tax on that phone, and the next year I have to pay proof of ownership to show that I own that phone after I paid value-added tax for the first time I purchased it, it means I'm being multiply taxed.